The lesson he never expected. Ethan Blake had always looked at his father with a strange mix of love, pity, and silent judgment. His father Raymond had spent nearly 30 years as a janitor at a local high school, a man of quiet pride and simple habits. Every morning, Raymond rose before dawn, put on his faded blue uniform and left for work carrying the same metal lunchbox he'd had since Ethan was a child. To young Ethan, that lunchbox came to symbolize everything he didn't want to become: ordinary, predictable, small. As a boy, Ethan would wrinkle his nose whenever his father came home smelling faintly of bleach and cleaning supplies. He would watch him wash his hands for minutes, scrubbing away the scent of hard work. Raymond would hum softly as he cleaned his boots, always taking care to leave them by the door before sitting down for dinner. Ethan never understood it, how someone could give so much to a job that seemed to give so little back. By the time Ethan turned 18, his ambitions had outgrown the small blue-collar town they lived in. He dreamed of luxury, the kind of life he'd seen online with fast cars, expensive suits, and the power to command respect with nothing but a name. He wanted to be more than his father ever was. When he left for college on a scholarship, he didn't look back. He promised himself that he would never walk the same humble path Raymond had walked his entire life. Years passed and Ethan's world changed. He graduated with a degree in business and marketing, then landed an entry-level job at a large corporate firm. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a start. He dressed sharply, spoke confidently, and quickly learned the rhythm of ambition, the constant competition, the endless hours, the hunger for recognition. Promotions came slowly at first, then faster. Before long, Ethan was climbing the corporate ladder, each step taking him further away from the world his father had known. Meanwhile, Raymond grew older. His hands became slower, his back more bent, but his spirit never wavered. Even after retirement, he volunteered to clean the church and the community center, still believing that work, any work, was honorable if done with honesty. Ethan visited occasionally, but his visits were short, distracted, filled with phone calls and restless glances at his watch. His father would talk about small things, the garden, the neighbors, the weather, while Ethan thought about his next big deal. Then came the night that would change everything. Ethan's company had been awarded a massive contract, one that could propel him into executive ranks if he handled it right. He worked tirelessly for weeks, sleeping in his office, living off caffeine and adrenaline. When the day of the presentation came, he stood before the boardroom full of clients with confidence. But fate, cruel and silent, had other plans. The files he needed were corrupted, the projector malfunctioned, and his presentation, the one he had poured his soul into, fell apart in minutes. The meeting ended in embarrassment. His manager's expression was unreadable, but the disappointment in the room was heavy. Ethan left the building that day with a hollow feeling in his chest. That evening, his boss called to inform him that he would be replaced on the project. It wasn't a firing, not yet, but it was a blow to his pride, a mark on his once perfect record. Weeks turned into months and things only worsened. The company downsized, and Ethan, despite his once promising trajectory, found himself among those let go. He couldn't believe it. After all the effort, all the years of proving himself, he was back to nothing. His savings dwindled quickly as he searched for another job. But the market was tough and his confidence began to erode. The rejection emails piled up. Eventually, he was forced to leave his upscale apartment and move back into his father's modest home. It was supposed to be temporary, just a few weeks until he found something new. But those weeks turned into months and pride turned into quiet despair. Raymond, now older and slower, didn't say much. He simply welcomed his son home, gave him his old bedroom back, and carried on with his simple routines. Ethan tried not to feel embarrassed, but each time he saw his father repairing something around the house or tending to the garden, a pang of guilt pierced his chest. He had once mocked this life, but now it was all he had left. One morning, Raymond received a call from the local school where he used to work. The new janitor had quit unexpectedly, and they needed temporary help until they could hire someone else. Without hesitation, Raymond agreed. He didn't do it for money, just to lend a hand. But age had taken its toll on him, and the long hours soon became too much. One afternoon, as he was cleaning the hallway, he slipped and injured his back. When Ethan got the call, he rushed to the hospital, his mind racing. Seeing his father lying in that bed, fragile, pale, yet still smiling, something broke inside him. The man he had once dismissed as ordinary now looked extraordinary in his endurance. He had worked his entire life without complaint, giving more than he ever received and still found room to smile. The doctors advised weeks of rest. During that time, someone needed to fill in temporarily at the school. Not officially, but just to keep things in order until they found a replacement. Raymond hesitated to ask, but before he could say anything, Ethan volunteered. The first day was humbling beyond words. Ethan wore the same kind of blue uniform his father once had. The smell of cleaning products clung to his hands and clothes. Students walked by without noticing him, some laughing, some dropping trash without care. Every sound echoed through the empty hallways, and for the first time in his life, Ethan understood what solitude really felt like. At first, he hated it, the monotony, the invisibility. But as the days went by, something shifted. He began to notice the small things his father must have seen all those years. The quiet beauty of an early morning corridor. The satisfaction of making something spotless. The small nods of appreciation from teachers who understood the value of cleanliness. He realized how his father's work had shaped the lives of others in ways unseen. The clean classrooms where children learned. The polished floors where students walked every day. These were silent acts of care, invisible but essential. Each day, Ethan felt his pride melt away, replaced by a deep respect for the kind of strength that never seeks recognition. One evening, while cleaning a classroom, he found an old plaque on the wall, a service award from years ago. It bore his father's name, Raymond Blake, for 25 years of dedicated service. Ethan stood there for a long time, tracing the engraved letters with his fingers. He felt a lump rise in his throat. His father had never mentioned it, never shown it off. To him, work had never been about praise. It had been about purpose. That night, when Ethan returned home, his father was sitting in the living room reading. The silence between them spoke more than words could. Ethan didn't say what he felt. He didn't need to. The understanding was there, quiet and profound. As Raymond recovered, Ethan continued helping at the school. He found a strange peace in it, a clarity he had never experienced in the fast-paced corporate world. He began to see success differently, not as wealth or power, but as integrity, resilience, and humility. Weeks later, when a position opened in the school's administrative office, one of the staff members recommended Ethan. His degree, once a symbol of pride, now felt like a tool for something meaningful. He accepted the offer, determined to make a difference from within, to improve the systems that had long been overlooked, to honor the people like his father, who kept everything running silently behind the scenes. Ethan's life changed in ways he never expected. The arrogance that once defined him faded, replaced by gratitude and wisdom. He still dressed well, still worked hard, but now his work carried weight, not in the eyes of others, but in his own heart. He often visited his father during lunch breaks, sitting with him in the garden, sharing simple meals and stories. One afternoon, while they sat together, Raymond looked at his son and smiled. That quiet, knowing smile of a man who had seen life's cycles repeat. Ethan looked at his father's hands, aged, scarred, steady, and felt pride swell in his chest. For the first time, he didn't want to run from his roots. He wanted to honor them. He realized that life has its way of humbling those who forget where they came from. It strips away illusions, breaks the armor of pride, and reveals truth in the simplest of things. Ethan had spent years chasing success, but only when he fell did he learn what real success meant, the kind built on humility, perseverance, and love. From that day on, he never mocked his father's job again. Instead, he carried it with him, in memory and gratitude in spirit. Because the greatest lessons are often taught not by the powerful or the wealthy, but by those who live quietly, doing their best every single day. And in the silence of those lessons, life speaks the loudest. As the sun dipped behind the old high school building, casting long shadows across the floors Ethan had just cleaned, he paused and looked out the window. Somewhere deep inside, he felt his father's quiet pride, not spoken, not shown, but deeply felt. It was then he realized that sometimes life's greatest teachers wear the humblest uniforms, and in that truth, Ethan finally found peace.